is October 31st, 2024. Woo! I have never, ever, ever been so excited for October to be over. I'm gonna put the phone down a little bit, okay? So there is a blackout screen, and I do have some devices up here to show some different things that are all coming together, but right now I just am attempting to put this information together right now so that the collective and the highest consciousnesses on this planet have an idea of what we've been dealing with down here with these bubbles. You know how I say that there's a bubble within a bubble within a bubble. And so I'm this video might be a little bit all over the place. This video has to be done today because it's October 31st. Today is Maria Orsic's birthday. Now, this is if you don't know who Maria Orsic is, and what this video is actually going to do too is give you guys a little bit more insight as to how the hell I can do what I can do with these charts. Because I mean, whenever when you go to look at astrology, I can promise you my brain was even more scrambled in 2018, 2017, before I had to retrain myself to open up Pandora's box. As the lead divine feminine in the shadow, because there were collectively we had leaders, because it's all according to frequency. So if you came into this dimension fresh and you always were pure and always tuned to frequency and came into a cylindered gas chamber after World War II, then you were always holding a higher frequency as the bottom kept falling out. It's like going to the top of the elevator, getting to the penthouse, making the elevator stop, stopping the elevator at the penthouse, but then going up and down the elevator shaft for 7 years. That is what it was like for us inside the creation core. That is what these timelines and time travel and all this mess that was built up with changing frequencies in the realm, setting up poles, because by this time they had already done what? World War II, gassed a whole bunch of people, hybridized them, did a shit ton of experiments that you still don't know about today, that's made beings like me down here, and now we're changing the entire DNA set of everything that's human down here because of how long it's been going on. Now, in my journey, because if you are the real divine feminine, you are the shadow. If you are Earth, if you're Gaia, if you're attached to Terra, if you're attached to the Irish lines that were even attached to Terra, that were even attached to Gaia, that were even, which now is what I'm starting to figure out, and why I'm on here now, is what was being seeded in Lyra and in Capricorn. And I'm going to go through that again, but I'm just going to throw it in there right now. I came on to talk about this video because I'm seeing how Capricorn was made. from Cancer. I'm seeing how the wheel over time made the original Lyra 1 root race. And I call that Lyra 1 root race, which is 0 to 9 degrees of Capricorn, the first root race. 1 degree of Capricorn is Polis, the original pole star, not Polaris in Gemini, Polis. Everything in the wheel reads opposite. So as I'm connecting and waking up this morning on October 31st, which was Maria Orsic's birthday, and connecting Orsini, because he was the gray pope. Our line always held the popes. What I saw is that that's who's been holding me captain in the captain. They held me captain in a captive situation since I came into this realm. And it's all about Orsini, utilizing the name of Orsic. And it's all about Orsic having the Vril body codes and everything that the feminine Vril did back in Germany, which is not what y'all think it is today. It is not, the Vril did not start out what it is today. I know all about what we were doing in the Vril because we're finishing the work right now. In that timeline, Maria Orsic. Now I want to talk about the Vril. And we got to talk about World War II, because this is very important for everyone to understand what the hell happened down here, even in the 50s. Number one, it's in the 40s, it's a 40 timeline. Whenever you hit even numbers, you're in a harmony. So on even numbers, even in the 40s, in the 20s, this is whenever the collective is in the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, the 80s, then you're on a current. Whenever you're in the odd number, then you're having to take a back step. This is why they called it the Third Reich. This is also why they have military people marching the way they do, and they yell left, 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 right, left, because they want what, I mean, it really should be left, right, left, right, left, right, left. You know, the reason that they had him even saying those cadences was to put the left in. The left would be the odd numbers. So in the 40s, it was prime time to tune. Just like Christ consciousness, and all of us know that we've been on lifetime missions in order to ascend the planet. This group of beings has been on lifetime missions to stop it and plant a flag and say that it's theirs. And they've gotten away with it for a really long time because of what happened in Germany. When Hitler and all of the gassing and all of the genocide started, now you have to remember, and you might not even know, but Maria Orsic, and they took an eye out, because I've seen this name change. I mean, number one, who she look like? Me. Her name, they have it as Orsic now, but I've also seen it change throughout this past 4 years, because this is the way I originally spelled it whenever we started bringing this information back in. And I'm going to tell you how this information started coming back in, and it's going to explain a lot about your chart, and it's going to explain how you're hued up to get what you need coming, and why you can't get it all at once, because this is information that I brought in back in 2018, untwining this stuff when we had an Antares transit. It was 2018. I had just started doing starseedology charts. I had that, it was the 2019 download, the January 6th download of the Big Bang hadn't even come in yet. I was doing a group of charts for a Luna Ash, and I knew per the plan that Aluna had gathered in a whole bunch of feminine that were in twin sets, and then she was sending them over to me to open up their charts, and then we were supposed to keep going. I was supposed to start working with some of those people. Basically everything that's happening now for the brand with Tanja and Norma Jean was all supposed to happen in 2018. Now, I can't even blame Aluna, because now, knowing what all was done down here and how tech was involved in this, and the power structures that were holding it, there was no way it could have been completed without the entire collective and 4 years of us building up power. Okay, but what happened was, when I activate your chart, because I mean, in a lot of ways, I had to become the wheel for the collective, because I was used to make it. Now I just kind of got lost. My brain, if you've had any dreams, or you've seen anybody tied to a wheel, this is also like tied to a wagon wheel. Usually in the shadow realms, what you're going to see, it's going to look like a big well. It's going to look like a well with a weird lid on it, and typically it's wood. It's a wood lid on a round well in the middle of a round room, and you were either being hammered to it, just like crucifixion, but in an X, just like a Da Vinci. And this is the stuff that was going on way back in medieval times, and that the energy of all the nasty shit that was going on in medieval times never had been cleaned up, and so basically it left open for every single crucifixion, every single person that was taken out and killed with medieval black magic, which is basically what all of them were doing. It left that timeline and that death, because it was wound up in magic. It wasn't just a normal death. What it did was basically leave those deaths open in a timeline, and it had it running on a record, which ended up being the sacrifices in the end days that these groups were attempting to complete. And this is when we're talking about, and I keep saying and telling y'all that we knew that this spell was going to end, because they didn't murder the 6 of us that they needed in the very back whenever this spell originally went up. They didn't get the same. They killed people, but they didn't end up killing the right ones in this round. only because as a collective, we had built up all this power. We were being shown the massive collective spell, and we were undoing it the entire time. Now, in 2018, in that Antares transit, you know, at this point, I didn't have a story about my birth mother. I had done some investigating in 2012 about who supposedly my birth father was. I had tried for years to get a hold of specific people. I met a woman who said she was my mother in 2012. I got this whole crazy fucking story that I cannot find any documentation of. And what I have also know now is that it's a story, it's a similar story that's told to all of us if we crack out and we start asking questions. And it's always linked back to a father that had something to do with prison. I'm starting to think it's the mother, though. And I'm starting to think that that was the one that they had trapped this whole time. Now, in that Antares transit, because I wasn't as activated as I am now, I came through this just the same way y'all are coming through it. I'm describing to you guys how this information and the information that you're looking for from these different transits, you can't get it until that transit comes around. So what was happening to me is that it was October, or it might have been October, because it could have been this timing. I can't remember, but we had this huge Antares transit, and we had energy on Antares for the first time, because when all of us came and broke this open in 2017, none of the planets and even lined up on the 32 star races. It took us 2 years to get the planets and the sun and the moon to start lining up on these 32 star energies so that the collective could even get them. In 2017 and 2018, we were putting crystals out on an Arcturus on a day that the sun hit Arcturus so that we could bring it into the house so that our bodies could get that energy. That has been, I mean, because the wheel was not intact with these 32 rays. The wheel was tuned off of it in a mutant position. So what happened with me, and this is the first time that this had really happened, is that all of a sudden, every single time I closed my eyes, I was getting taken to like an eagle view of certain operating rooms. I was being shown like videos, certain surgeries that I have. It was like I was in the operating room. I could see the doctor. I could see what he was doing. I could see him talking to people on the side. Most of it had to do with my ovaries. And it had to do with them. And this was the father of IVF, not Donald Trump, who has claimed to be it in the past couple of weeks on national TV. This was Dr. Cohen, Cohen, from South Africa. He's from the Cape, and he is the one who made my son. Now, I got pregnant after I had my son, and they told me I miscarried, and something wasn't right about that. Then the doctor told me that I needed to clean out all my cobwebs. There's been doctors that have told you that. I'm not the only one. I've met now several different women that had surgeries after miscarriages, and they were told by the doctor that they were getting their cobwebs cleaned out. That was the main surgery that I saw that Antares showed me. And what it showed me was that they stole my ovary and the embryo was still live. What it showed me was them celebrating in the operating room when he did it. This is also linked back to Dolly Parton and the reason she couldn't have children and her right ovary being taken out. It was my right ovary. So why that matters and why I'm telling you that is when you have these energies in your chart, you're not going to be able to get the full download and story of where you need to go with that until that energy hits you and breaks open all those little bubbles that it was holding on. Because you're on that wheel and you're spinning. Now, it was 2018, right after that happened, that we really, as a collective, were investigating and putting back together the planets. And the story of Russia, the four princesses, Rasmussen, which is basically Rapunzel, which is basic, and this Maria Orsic story started coming back into our consciousness. Now, in 2018, there wasn't hardly anything on Maria Orsic. Like, it was a name that popped into my head. I had to go look it up. I had already, well, no, it was shortly after that now follow me. I was sent in Dallas to have the best burger in Dallas. I've talked about this before, and I was proven to be who I was by getting the message in my head and showing up. But when I got there, the CIA was there. And my son was with me. We both had to prove. And it was one of the first times and one of the strongest events that this has ever happened to me. And when I was leaving, the whole thing was really weird. Me and Rex were in this the place was packed, but we were on a table. We were at a table in the middle of a section. Nobody was sitting around us. Everybody was staring at us. These weird Richard Dreyfuss looking characters were all around. They had like that weird curly, almost like I'm seeing even Richard Simmons. Like a merge between Richard Simmons and Dreyfuss. They all had like this curly hair. The men were all kind of shorter, but there was like 3 or 4 of them in there that all looked alike like that, is what I remember noticing. As I'm leaving, that's whenever I see the 2 people in the mirrored sunglasses that are basically CIA, and I see them, they've got the little earpieces in, and they're staring straight at me and Rex as we're walking by. And like statues, like mannequins. And when I walked by, the woman, because it was a woman and a man, was so shocked by seeing me that she couldn't help but lean over to the male agent and say, "Oh my God, she looks just like her. She looks just like her." And I picked that up. And I left. We drove 45 minutes home. I got back home. I did whatever I needed to. I came upstairs and I was like, okay, consciousness, who the fuck do I look like? What are they talking about? Now, 2018 is when it's like from the shadows, there were the group of us who were already connecting and doing all this were massively changing timelines for everyone, for the collective, to the extent, and we were still trying to, and we still are, we were still trying to figure out who we were, especially me. But this is whenever everyone in the consciousness, and I mean everyone, and including any type of galactic consciousness, any type of governmental consciousness, any type of shadow consciousness, any type of Illuminati consciousness, any type of Dragon Order consciousness, they were more, they wanted to know who I was more than anybody else, because they couldn't figure out how I was doing this, and neither could I. Just as a group, we knew that we were changing this shit because we were watching how the story of Maria Orsic was starting to pop up back on the TV, how people were starting to write more stories about it. All of a sudden, the four princesses in Russia and that whole story hit the timeline again. Because I want y'all to understand, none of it was in the timeline before 2018. We had to bring it back in. It had been wiped. Now, this is who I look like. Marie Helene Rothschild. It keeps wanting to go back to this picture, so I'm just going to pull this one up. I don't think I've ever seen this picture. Who is this? And I'm just going to remind everybody that it's Rothschild. This has all been about Rho, which is motor flow. And this is also Greek, and this is also physics. It's Rho. So it's Rho, the child. Keep the child on the wheel. Where's her feet? Maybe your feet are back there behind that. I don't know. I just noticed that. This particular person is Marie Rothschild, nee Perugia, as Zobeda. Looks like zombie. Now, I'll tell you what's interesting as shit about this picture right here. Because this must have been her grandmother. Because, look, we were caught in their line. That's the sacrifice that I know my soul made. I had to come and be a reptilian. This is where your Anunnaki even came from. Anunnaki wasn't made by two sides coming together and saying, let's make it. No, it's more a group getting kidnapped and eaten, forced to become their DNA most of the time. Now, this goes back to Cancer and Capricorn and why. And it has to do with eating hearts. I'm just going to say it like it is on this video. So, immediately when I was like, consciousness, who the F do I look like? Freaking tell me. Well, this is exactly where I went. Now let me show you. This is the interesting. This is interesting. Now who did Nikki Hilton just marry? And what did I find out that the Hiltons had built with all their hotels in certain areas? Skin factories, body factories. They're on grid systems. I had to take them down. Be very careful about staying in Hilton. Just realize if you do in your area, look around to make sure that there's not a skin place on the corner, because they don't do it in every single one. There's certain Hilton hotels are in certain complexes around auditoriums, around grid structures, like if don't stay in a Hilton around Disney. Don't stay in a Hilton around a theme park. Don't stay in a Hilton around an auditorium for a game event. Everybody needs to blackball Hilton right now. In fact, I command the collective, stop going to Hilton, because believe it or not, it's even worse than Marriott and Hyatt. They're almost built like etheric bodies. Hilton's gonna hold the bigger complex. Now, if you know the story of Maria Rothschild, because I'm going back to this 1972. I've been screaming it over here, and I will not stop screaming it until the government fucking recognizes what I'm telling you. 1972, we ascended masters came back in here in unison with the government and all NATO powers to pull everybody out of the wheel. 1973. It was the summer of 1973. It was set to be announced to the public. August 1972 is when the planet spun up, started spinning 2 times as fast as it was supposed to for 33 days exactly. No, for 3 days. It sped up 2 times as fast as it was supposed to for 3 days. Then it slowed down to 1.5 times spin for 33 days. All the astronomers and the physicists knew it. This is how they knew we were coming in. It started in August of 1972. December 1972 is when they did the surrealist ball. This is the pictures y'all are used to seeing when you're talking about the Rothschilds. This party is the basis of every freak-off and any other ritual that's ever been done on anybody down here since 1972. And I command to switch a bitch right now. It's 11:23. 223. And I command the crescent fall and the shunned rise. Now, this is some of the party goers. Now, this happened in December. Marie Helene ended up being the stag. She was the stag. Now, with the Rothschild family, you got to realize that in order to keep their shit up, every single time we start activating, since they came in with this crazy crap in 1972 on us, they got to keep it up. So every time we elevated the timelines, they were having to use their black magic to take it back to whatever they did at this party right here. They're gonna choose a stag. Now, this is also the basis of the movie Eyes Wide Shut. This is also this is why the diddler had the girls on the table and they were eating sushi off of them and shit. This is when this first happened. They had all of these costumes and the reason that the eye is off, this is why they do the eye. This is what the entire industry was keeping up for them through their weird little hand signals and all that. This does not mean anything bad. This is actually an alchemy symbol. This party and what they did to an ascended collective to gate the energy and to become dominator, just like the Medicis, all from the medieval times, is why they're dressed like this. In 1972, this shit didn't make any sense. It makes a whole lot of sense in 2024, don't it? Now, this is where the gang rapes come in. This 1972 party and even the rituals thing that they would do to the stag, they're only going to choose the stag that has connections into the Christ line, that has connections into the collective, because it's what they had when Maria Orsic came from 1947 into 1972, because that is what we did. That's what I did. They knew. because what I'm realizing is that the masculine and feminine and the Mona Lisa effect, and why we have so many men in Hollywood that are dressed like women, and it's like the woman template was what we had to rebuild first to even rebuild a masculine template, because it had all been so dumbed down, because the everything was falling, and they had set this false sequence up here, and everything was running off that sequence, controlling everyone in what? Cancer. They made Cancer. Your witches and wizards ended up in your hospitals. The forming of Cancer the reason that the human race has Cancer is because of the bindings that they did in Capricorn to our collective bodies to control the body down here with this stuff since 1972. Way before that, it's just a new set of characters in 1972, because we all bonsai jumped from Germany. It's like, that's the point that, when I talked about the other day that I went out in space and jumped into the volcano, well, this would be another dimension of that. The real, now I know I'm jumping all over the place. I hope y'all understand exactly how hard this is to speak about. This is what Diddy's copying. This is the head in the bird cage. They always have a bird cage in all these boutique. I mean, there's always a bird cage because they're trying to lock you in the cage. So certain lines had signed up to be locked in the cage. So whoever this is, because I can't even tell you who this actress is, but whoever this is, she locked her entire collective, her entire DNA line was locked in that bird cage with her. And she agreed to it. You got to remember, all these characters then kind of all became what you'd call celebrities. This is what's tripping me out right now. From my perspective, what this party did was set up a. If you look at the Last Supper, and everyone at the table, and then you flip that table upside down and make an underworld projection of the Last Supper, and everyone was assigned a character, and so somebody was Jesus, somebody was Mary. Maria would have been Mary. It was like a whole, they had the whole crew, but it was all shadow. It was all made with them taking, they had baby dolls that were cracked up all on the table, baby parts. She looks a lot like Paris Hilton to me. Is that the Joker? Is that the Riddler? See, and he's got like a stem on his head, like all. Anyway, I'm just, and even this is where this picture first came. So, let me go back. This is the shit I've been dealing with my whole entire life. This is the shit all of y'all have been dealing with your whole entire life, but you didn't know why. You know why? I gotta go back and talk about the Vril. And this is also why you see it. I know that we're going to be bringing back in these jumpsuits. This is where the jumpsuits even came from. This is the energy that was leading the Galactic Command. Not a dude. Now, when we're talking about the vril, okay, and how it got started, this is basically even the base root of the Pentecostal religion and why they don't cut their hair. So, this is so that what happened in 1947 with your DNA is so deep rooted in what happened in 1947 for every single being that's down here that I can't overemphasize it enough at all. You can basically remember that they put everyone in gas chambers. Everything went into what? Aquarius. They literally gassed everybody to make Aquarius. What Aquarius is air, but it's pixelated air. It's conscious air. It's when you're in Leo, and because Leo is the mammal and the man, and when you die, then the etheric body that's associated to all the lines that were below holds. So over time, the most ancient created what you would call the angelic realm and Cygnus at the master decan of Aquarius. And it's mirroring the master decan of Regulus, which is number 13, number 33 in Leo, the one that moved to Virgo. And you would call it the Pandora's box. Because the royal lines, the Merovingian lines, the one that per your history books you would call the royals, were all made from that 1972 spell. This is why the very first thing that I had to do was prove a Tudor queen. I had to prove a Tudor queen before I even started getting any of the Egyptian information. I had to prove that first thing straight out of the gate because the Tudor line was the last clean line that actually was attached to the planet. Every single... all the royal lines had an attachment to the planet in the beginning. But as they were doing what they were doing, and if you go, we talk about the twins, and we talk about the twins coming together, and we talk about the power of that. Well, if you go back and look into history in the after royal weddings, there's a couple of specific royal weddings that were allowed to happen, and right after the wedding and right after they conjugate the wedding, then everyone in the town starts breathing their breath. They could see their breath in the air like it was cold. That royal wedding changed the physics for the entire world. Because those characters had been inside this wheel so long, going up, coming back, going up, coming back, going up, coming back. And this is why the royal weddings were assigned. This is the same, the monarch lines are the same fucking thing as the Egypt lines, marrying their sisters in order to attempt to keep a bloodline pure. However, it was for the opposite reason. It was to keep it unpure, not pure, because whenever it's pure, then it changes the physics in the realm. And then a black plague would come. A plague would something horrible would start happening because the twins came together. Everybody's got to evolve now. The energetics evolve because those two bubbles now have made a new sequence. And this is we think back and we wonder, how the hell did this happen? How did the whole realm just flip upside down and everyone forget when those unions were happening, when they were allowing it to happen, and when the physics were changing? What lines were the physics changing? Was the physics changing the masses, or was the physics changing the royals? It's changing the royals. So in my mind, how I see it and how it happened, going back to like even, and I can't give you a date, I want to say 1500s, but I'm telling you, this was on a loop. Like I believe that this was happening in the 1300s. It had probably happened in the 1100s or something first. Then it happened in the 1300s. Then it happened in the 1500s, because it was on a loop. We were all, none of us going what you'd call to heaven. We were being seated and to go lower, and we weren't going all the way back up, making a full connection in Aquarius and coming back down is one full energy. It had just become like 12 different tribes up there battling it out to control Leo. So this is even why it's divine. It was set up this way because it had to all be set up on one. It had to be all set up on one family line. It had to all be set up on one so that one could undo it. But that one over time was attached to every single person that had ever been made in the wheel. And that's what Venus did. That's what the feminine did. What we're talking about right now is the first ever woman that's been made, because we just remade it again. And that is the damn truth. Not the first man. What we just rewalked is making of Lilith, but in a higher current. Because now we realize why Lilith was so pissed off. All of her children were trapped in Cancer. Now, after this knowledge came in, okay, because this is 2000. That was 2018 under that Antares transit. Then that's when I started having to claim these people's charts. Specifically, it was Marilyn Monroe, Norma Jean. That's why even Norma Jean's here, I know, because she was an AB negative. She was basically the Elvis, feminine Elvis that was made from all this. I'll remind everybody that Hitler was obsessed with us. And I'm going to get back to the Vril in a minute. This is Maria Orsic's chart. Holy Scorpio. What do I tell you that Scorpio is, especially the beginning degrees? The beginning degrees of Scorpio are everything that is needed for the spell. Where was the collective spell done? 12 to 16 degrees of Capricorn. I mean, of Scorpio. Oh, well, yeah, there too, because it's Vega. It's done with Vega blood. It's galactic, but... So Mars makes it real. Number one, it's conjunct all the way down here in Libra. Where does the Chiron start? Hercules. Oh, Arcturus. 16 degrees is Hercules, 18 is Arcturus. Where does this start? Right there. I'm telling you right now, Arcturians and what we'd consider Arcturus and even World War II and how World War II played out. World War II, what they did and why they did it is they brought back in the second ascension that ever happened on this planet. And they sent, and either you were the king and the queen or using Cancer. getting run by the kings and queens. Venus on galactic command. Making it real. Your captain. Why? Because she traveled through time and she had all the DNA parts. That's what we made in the real. This is how we outsmarted Hitler. This is why he's been on our ass searching for us. And this is why we've had to become what we've become in order to make sure none of that we kept it pure, the DNA strands. And at least one of us, only one of us, but the one of us that had all the parts that were taken away in World War II. Mars is making it real. So I'm explaining to you right now how Scorpio became Eagle and Eagle became Scorpio. Look where the sun is right now. On her Saturn, on her program. What am I doing right now? I'm on here right now telling you that's me. And it's literally what I'm starting to turn back into. If you've noticed how much I'm changing over here. This is also why I'm not showing my face as much, because it's kind of like a conglomerate of these 5 charts from these historical figures that I had to go and claim and walk all over again. Their wheel settings. And this right here and Maria Orsic is how I am able to do the group of charts that have come in the past 45 days. Every single one of you that I'm doing charts for in September of 2024, October 2024, and November 2024. You are in the collective that was caught on the in-between. Whether you were caught, and I'm talking about in your etheric DNA, it's like you were in the in-between dimensions. You were in between the shift from Scorpio to Eagle, or Eagle to Scorpio. You were in between the gases. You were held in between, etherically. I know it's kind of gross, but what I'm seeing right now is even how poop comes out, like a poop chute. Like we as a collective would have all like bound together to make a poop chute, but the poop was the only one that had to go all the way through and go all the way down. That's why I have pieces of this that you will never know and you do not want to find out. If you were supposed to know, then whenever this transit happens and you get aligned to that energy, you're gonna find out. Look, this is where when these little ones out here, this is where the collective sun and moon are right now. The moon is gonna show up over here at 9 degrees on top of this Saturn protocol. And Saturn is your program, wherever you have Saturn in your program. So what I'm telling you is every bit of effing magic that we would call any type of cylinder that would hold any type of magic was set up from this and the connections both directions and how it was made. And the Orsini family has been the one replicating it. The Orsini family is the one who set this all up. The Orsini family is the head of the cartel. The Orsini family are the ones who sent black magic to me this entire time. The Orsini family are the ones who were pulling all the triggers and getting everybody's money from all the other countries in order to build ASP and to come hunt us down in the United States to hook this shit back up in us. Thank you, Peppy. Thank you. Thank you for hooking it back up for us. Because this is it. You're going down. And I know you are, because I did it last year in November. Now, before we leave the Vril, and I know it's another video, but Breath of Fire is out on Max right now, and that's a story with that yoga in India and Kundalini, because oh my God, this word Kundalini is a problem with me. Breath of Fire and them coming and making Kundalini yoga and taking those children away, traumatizing them. We've seen they're doing it with dentists right now. Government dentists, do not take your child to a government dentist. Do not. They will not allow you to go back in with that child. And we've already had reports. They're traumatizing the child to the point that the child can't even speak. It's ableist programming. They're doing it on purpose. And I'm starting to think it's why I had a shock Kundalini activation. Because of the energy that those two Indian men came here. Plus, you've got Kundalini Katie. Well, Katie and KT have been a character in this whole cook-a-thon, cooking the entire human race. And I'll remind y'all that when I say that, I mean they tried to give every single one of us polio. Worse too, but that one for sure, because I did the healing. So this is why a lot of them have family members that have muscular sclerosis. This is why Terry Garr just died. They were purposely attacking our structure, almost like a fly, like a fly throwing up on something to suck it through a straw. Now, I know for me, and I know this sounds crazy, and I really would love to see somebody prove me wrong, but I really, really am starting to think that I just showed up in this timeline. I'm starting to think, and this is where, you know, we call the father really is our father. I don't have a father. I don't have a mother in this dimension because I'm not from this dimension. Then we start asking, how is that possible? Y'all, this is so much to talk about. So just give me a second, because this is really affecting me right now. I'm a little surprised. First of all, it's not spelled with an I. It's spelled, it's not spelled with a Y. It's spelled with an I. And it's where your Illuminati and all of that originated. And my hair is not brushed and I look like shit, but I feel like I need to show my face, so I'm just gonna do it. The whole entire timeline of World War II was about connecting with Andromeda. And you got to remember that we've already were in this thing for a really long time. And you got to remember that Hitler was a Rothschild. So basically what was happening is that Hitler was seeing everything that everything I know, everything that I've seen, everything that I can move out in the highest of the cosmos. I see a higher eagle perspective because I'm feminine. A masculine is not gonna be able to see what we see in the organic, even in the same line. This is why the Brotherhood kept us captive. They needed our sight and etheric body to even hold it. And I'm feeling the knife in my throat right now too. So I'm just gonna do my best to get through this. And I command that I never was sacrificed on that table now. I take it back. And I command the vril completely dismantled in every fucking way. And I command the Sig Rum be under my control and under my control only. And that all matrix DNA that's attached to any DNA that I brought into this realm disrupt and bring down all simulations and all manipulation that has ever been done in the human body. And I command it to return to its organic nature. And it's the reason that the vril was made. And it's the reason that I was here. And it would have acted out that way, even in the 40s, because of who we were. Because Maria Orsic, if it was a time traveler. And this is where this is where you really, this is where it's gonna graggle your brain, because in what did I say, in 2018, because there is no time. There's no time. So in 2018, when us as a collective started bringing Maria Orsic back into the realm, because it's how we got here. That would even mirror back to like Cleopatra leaving Egypt and hiding out with the Essenes during the whole Herod thing. Cause it was on a loop. It's just gonna take you into denser timelines with what you call technology. And I'll say it again. William Gates did not go to the future. He went to the past to bring back in a keyboard. The vril. We wore all white. What does Saudi wear? All white. What are they all wearing? All white. Do you know how many times I've had to wear all white? Do you know how many times, because I didn't have white sheets, that I had to just strip my bed and for months sleep on white? There were different periods throughout this past 7 years where I just had to be in all white. We were all feminine. We were very spiritually connected, and we were a collective that was trained by H.P. Blavatsky. H.P. Blavatsky. Now, if you don't, and as a collective, we walk this. So every feminine that has any power, you can basically think of HP as your mother goose. Because they had her looking and baby farming, and the baby farming and how that ended up becoming in the end of days, that all started back in those timelines, because HP was training all of us with specific powers in order to channel, and we were really powerful. And this is why the Nazis, and they were all over us, because they knew that what we could do, and they were obsessed with it. They were obsessed with what we could do. And this is how our men are acting right now. If you've been watching any of the tarot readings that are going on in the collective right now, all of our men are like finally figuring out, oh my God, they are the real ones, and now they're scared. Well, yeah, we've been telling you, don't make us do it. Now, what happened with HB is that there was a period of time. I keep calling her HB. She knew all this masonry stuff. This is how I know all this. This is why it's in that Akashic library. This is why you're gonna get whatever pieces of this that you need when it rubs up against it. But you're not gonna get the full set of your information until that transit comes around, or until that bubble that they had twined up, when your energy gets to it, and you have to uncoil. And so this is the part that you'll be taken to go look up XYZ timelines, XYZ this, XYZ that, because your codes in your body are set, have all the pieces. And so that's like a skip. So when your bubble hits a skip, then it's going to send you through your DNA, through your reality. Your reality is going to show you and teach you, because I learned all this from what you'd consider dead people, and will teach you and learn how to connect with you to get this freaking information out, because trust me, you will get it. Each time this download of information comes in, and then it sends you, and you start looking and finding, then as soon as you do, you're gonna have to show it. This is where you start proving, because now you can't be scared, you can't be in fear. You have to know that you can take it out. You're shown how it was made, like all these little things that mentally prepare you to what? Go to battle. Why? Because you've got to dominate that energy source. Once you do dominate that energy source, then it starts. It's like a bubble inside a needle giving a shot, and it's going to float up because you're filling it up. Each one of those that happen throughout your journey, you pick up toolkits of how those ancestors talked to you and got that information, and then it's in your system. And then you kind of even know what ancestors are sending you what information, depending on how it's showing up when big shit like this starts happening. And this is what the cosmos is set to do for the next 7 years. Whenever we're telling you over there, with Cohu 32, when we're telling you just integrate, just know you've got all your pieces, and know anything that you need to know, y'all. Whenever I broke the mummy curse, do you know that my picture of my mummy just showed up on my phone? I didn't go looking for it. When the aquatic ape, which was my twin, because I know in another timeline, I'm the one that was in the family line that made an aquatic ape into a human for this right here now in 2024. And this happened in 2018. Whenever that, and I hadn't even fully connected all that to the wheel and everything else I've got a picture of him. In fact, I'll put it on the cover of this video. It is a fish man that was captured in another country. Just showed up on my phone. I didn't go looking for it. When that stuff starts happening, then you start really realizing how those codes are putting out your reality. Now, I wish I would have brushed my hair for this. I'm still healing. I'm doing good right here. But again, this eye. What the Vril did is because what the masculine was the same thing that we did in this last transit. Basically the same exact energetic plan that the feminine had with this black magic, how we were able to defeat the covens, why all this is coming out now, is because we were able to do that because of what we had done in the Vril and the feminine connection to it. And it basically kind of all repeated in our timeline. In that timeline, they were gassing everybody. They were putting everybody in gas chambers. They were doing experiments. Now, here's what's screwed up. And you know, as see, I can't even talk. As the feminine in the line, we were the ones that were experimented on the most. This is why you don't know us. Every horrible thing that could ever be done to a human was done to us, and we were always conscious. And they knew that. This is what all the trauma that we have with the dentists and the trauma that we have, just this innate body trauma that you have. It's because of the trauma that the feminine received getting back in this realm. But it built us again. It was all used for good in the end. However, this is what HB saw. She was a Mason. She knew all about the Masonry. She had the girls. She knew that we had the network. We knew it. We saw the timelines. We knew exactly what was going to happen. Andromeda was attempting to attach to us then. That's the information Hitler wanted. They were sending the technology codes for the flying saucers and this and this and this and that. That's why Hitler wanted the Vril in his corner. Meanwhile, they were gassing everybody and pixelating everybody. Well, that's the same fucking thing they did with 5G. Except now they've plugged you into an electrical circuit. But for those of us who were in the Christ line and Cancer this whole time, attached to the feminine for like millions of years, like, welcome to the club. As we were a bunch of women. Not only were we a bunch of women, we were very special women, and we all knew it. We were all hand chosen to represent different DNA lines and races because your body is a time capsule. Now, this is also where the feminine and masculine missions went completely separate. Because the masculine was not listening to the feminine. The masculine only wanted to control the feminine. The masculine only wanted to control what information the feminine was giving in order to control the feminine. So it's like since 1940s, women and men really haven't been working together. You really haven't. At our base root of our DNA in this bubble and what you'd consider your king frogs. On both sides. As they were gassing everybody, what we were doing was backing up and calling in and doing whatever rituals we needed to do in order to make our body the time capsule. So what we were doing is as I was killing all these people all these years, we were the backup system. We individually became a hard drive for the DNA and the structures that existed in the realm attached to that DNA, which is Tartarius, which is Egyptian, all of it. 2 leaders. Now this is also where the breath of fire thing kind of like is doing this weird mirror. 2 leaders. Me, because I was Maria, and we called her Sig Rum. We both wore specific necklaces, and every single time that we would do any type of backup thing, because it's like if you're gonna have each being back up all your Akashic, back up all the knowledge, back up all the DNA, okay, then you've got to have somebody that's holding the circuit and somebody that's holding the body. So Maria, and remember, we're time travelers, and even after this, I mean, if you go researching about Maria, the very last message that the internet will tell you is that she wrote a letter that said, "I was never here." So what I'm also explaining to you is, in a lot of ways, what was done in the real, we were channeling from what we just did now with everybody undoing our charts. I got chills all over me. Maria would have been what you would consider the Christ in that situation, because the reason that we were able to hold that is because we had all those connections already in our physical DNA because of who we were a descendant from. So that's the feminine piece, all the body connections. This is why I have all the keys. Sigram had all the infrastructure from it. So it's like you play Sigram in 2024, and eventually it might take about 10 years, but you put Sigram and have her make children. I mean, this is what Elon's been doing. Then it's going to print that timeline, because it is how it works. We're all time capsules. We're holding different timelines, especially because we were trapped and we never went up and cleared. So it's like everything was stacking on us. This created multidimensionality. I'm just now realizing Sigram ended up being a man. I've been looking for Sigram. I thought I'd found her a couple of times. Even Alicia, which is the baby that died, that Martha and Al had, that was a big deal, because that baby dying was the reason that I was sent into this timeline. It was linked into the Goff Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was the records. So basically, what we've also been proven is that your collective Christ characters weren't even getting down here anymore. Like, the human female body wasn't even able to produce those of us that were pure anymore. Y'all were miscarrying all of us, and then they were taking the parts and making new ones. And I'm telling the truth, because it's how I was made. (1947). Okay, so now it's ending of the war. The other thing that we did in that timeline is there, and Andromeda and Pleiades are not in the book, because those are the last two that I've been trying to figure out. And what I know is that as a feminine group, we gave him some false information on purpose. Because every time that we would give them information, then they'd go start building. So what I'm seeing, and this might change, because this is, I've been unraveling this for years with Andromeda and Pleiades, because really they were made since what you'd consider World War II. Like now we know that when we were channeling Andromeda back in the 40s, we were actually channeling 2024. In a lot of ways, she left a note, said I was never here. She had a fiance. This is my twin. This is the one I've been looking for this whole time. And see, I'm getting close. I'm getting close. We jumped through that portal. Everybody was on my ass. By this point, they knew I had all the keys. They were, the leaders started gassing themselves. They were using mustard gas. It's a time travel thing. Mustard gas is a time travel thing. You didn't die. It puts you in a mustard gas, mustard seed bubble that was being held up just a little bit more, attached to a whole bunch of seeds that they had just made in a gas chamber to match their DNA so that they can get pulled down into the timeline, which is what they did. The entire 1960s was getting their group here. But your 60s and your 90s are the same thing. 1960 to 1969 is 1990 to 1999. What happened in 1999? Oh, there's a party, all right, and it went Y2K. And Vril became VRYL, and now they're spinning it all on vinyl. I jumped through that portal with my fiance. And I've been looking for him ever since. And what's nuts is there's many different versions of him at this point. I also know that jumping through that portal was me getting sacrificed. And I've talked about this with my crew because being an ancient etheric being in charge of the shadow realm, there were many times through this that I had to basically take myself out. And how everyone started seeing how serious I was about this in 2021, whenever I came back from California. I couldn't come back straight to Dallas. I had to go to Austin first because Austin was all wound up in this, worse than any other city in Texas. And I was driving through those back river roads of San Marcos, and I just left LA. All of us were virgins again. None of us was having sex. The only thing that the covens had on us was sex magic, because and this is also the reason why they held our twins from us, so that we couldn't have sex, because that was the only power source that we didn't have. And I was mad because this was 2021. This was right after the Lionsgate. Whenever because they tried to freaking take me up in a spaceship, and this is that whole in between thing. And I'm driving on that road, and I remember I saw a snake, and this snake is a big piece of this, and this because I'm trying to close this up now, but I got to fill in some blanks. And I was so mad, I had to drive straight. It's 23 hours. I was at the end of a 23-hour haul, still connected into all that coven shit. Had to bring it, basically, all the coven magic that they did on us in 2021, I brought it back to Texas and cut the shit out of it. And in order to do that, I called them all around me, and I said, bring me the motherfucker that set this up. And to me, there's a chair in the middle of the room, and there's a circle around me of beings that are all listening to me, because in the highers and in the lowers, they listen to me. It's in the physical that everybody seems to have an issue. So I'm mad. I'm commander mad. And I said, nobody, not one being is getting into this pure frequency that we're making right now. Not one. And I picked up To me, it looked like a head, and I cut their head off. And everyone around me just gasped. And I couldn't figure out for a minute why they freaked out so bad. Because, I mean, they kind of like that crap. And what I realized is that I had cut off my own head. Because they were using our energy to do it all. And right then, that's when everybody said, that's when everyone in the ethers and the underworld started realizing, holy crap, but realized that the divine feminine literally had to cut the head of the snake off, had to cut off your own head, because it had been millions of years that the world had been building a false brain pattern. And also what it proved is that we rebirthed it. And this is the type of stuff that's freaking them out right now. This is the type of stuff that the masculine is seeing. This is also the ones of in the hires, like my divine masculine, I knew was undercover, and I also knew that he knew that I could get out of whatever they did to me. He had just been living in that world for so long that he hadn't seen anybody be able to do it in a while. Now, Pepe was known as the Gray Pope. Pepe is also linked into the marijuana and hemp industry and has been pulling strings with all of that. Not even just in the United States. Actually, what it looks like they did as a cartel, okay, is use Africa and African descendants and African root magic, because this wasn't just any magic that they were doing. The magic that they were doing was, let's just say, it's been outlawed a whole long time. In fact, I saw the book. Like, there was a whole trial about this in the ethers, and it was spelled Majik. And this is how they were always accusing the feminine of doing everything, because they were utilizing our energy, and in the ethers, those beings knew that only we would have the power to do those things. So this is how they were always able to convince whatever in the ethers that we were doing it, but we weren't. It's because those of us who went through that chute were more like fireflies in a bubble in Cancer, getting pulled strings up in Capricorn. Why? If I go back, and I mean, this is how long this has been going on. And this is also linked into Diana. This is all linked into Saudi Arabia and Faza. This is linked into India and their whole Masonic deal that they did with H.P. Blavatsky. We knew when we entered the deal that it was going to go sideways a while. But we also, as a feminine team, knew that inevitably we would win. But it was the only option that we had, because the American Masons and all of them didn't want anything to do with this. They thought they just had us trapped. They didn't want us involved in any of it. They were going to let her into the boys club, but they gave her a very specific set of rules that she was going to have to follow to do it. And she was like, no effing way, because she knew what we had been doing for the DNA and why we were doing it for now. So this whole thing with India and building up the tech, and me being in the technology industry, and ExxonMobil, and basically how technology built up India, because I was involved in all that offshoring in Croatia, Esther, ExxonMobil, like the whole thing replayed out. The Bible's replayed out over our lifetime. Now, I'm going to So real quick, I'm going to show you. So the Maria Orsic, it's 12:21 right now. And basically this full energy of the vril without any manipulation from all of the DNA lines that were already set here in the 40s has all been put back together and upgraded in order to match the rest of the DNA that came down in from the planet that was shifted in through the manipulation. So it's basically the upgraded 2000 version of all of those powerful lines put together. Now if you have new Regulus, if you've got number 14, you're controlling this, because I just explained to you how we built the back door. This is how number 14 new Regulus has. It's lilac. It's not purple. It is the 4 archangels in one being. You got to think about Virgo as where everything meets, because in here, this is where the human field with the humans and the mammals, this is organs, this is your muscular tissue, this is like all the like soft stuff in your body. Okay, this is why Leo Aquarius has been picked, because you was in a wheel, it didn't get out, it's just going back and forth. So it's like you died down here, you went up here, then you collectively were kind of put back together to come back in. If you've got Saturn retrograde, you've been doing that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Now, from Leo right here, when Regulus moved, you got to remember, Regulus is like a paw on top of the wheel. It's like the 3 fingers on a bowling ball that you're going to put your hand in to control the ball. And the ball, the cabal, the lab, Regulus is going to hook into Virgo and Leo, and then it's going to harness over here to Aquarius and Pisces. So it's running it like a little oasis pool up here, like an eyeball. It's connected into both sides. Well, when you're coming, so there's going to be from the body side and the collective body put back together, then that collective body is gonna show up and go over here in Virgo. Okay, well, the same thing is happening from the higher houses, because Libra is gonna balance up the higher, because remember, you got beings coming in through here, and you got beings coming in through here. This is the Capricorn side. This is going to be the side that's considered more galactic. These pieces are not going to have as much faith and Christian and God and those types of things in it. They're just not, because that stuff didn't exist up in space. They didn't know anything about that. That's why they have such a hard time believing that it's real. Us down here, the only way we've been able to survive is faith and bringing it back in and learning our superpowers. These guys up here have only been learning all this crazy shit that I know, that I learned from getting run around by my twin. They know how to do Babylonian phonetics. They know how to send you emails and think it's a normal email, but their intention is a spell. This energy up here knows all about that. And this is why Lyra's star-seeded. They were basically forced to. So what I'm telling you even is that if you've got a whole bunch of Lyra energy, realize that at some point in time, that came from Cancer. You're reading it. When the balance is what's necessary. You got this, and then when I talk about the feminine and the masculine going back and forth, and you got to plan it, you got to create it, then you got to give it a minute. You can't just keep going like you used to, because all of us were asleep down here and they's running everything by here. That's why we could do so much and not get tired. But all of our energy is what was coming through the lines collectively to push you through it. Whenever you're in that shit and you got a bunch of money backing you, oh man, they can run your ass and you will not be able to stop. And you think it's just you until your body just gives up. Because it's like being plugged into a supercharged cord constantly. But you're getting it from the collective. That's why you couldn't even notice that that's not what it was whenever you're in the corporate machine. Now, her chart, see, her MC is on Cygnus. And it happens to be where my progressed MC is. 37 minutes after Alpha Draconic Notice 2. In the 10th house. Famous for it. So and actually, oh look. The moon's about to Chiron is about to be on her moon, because Chiron, if it's going backwards. Yep, it's going backwards. So it's about to be on her moon. My Chiron is at 15 degrees and it's on my AC. Because this is why everyone only saw wounding in me. Because my Chiron was in the first house. The first thing that you would notice about Christy, not Chastia, because I own that shit. My Chiron is now in the 11th house. In my progressed. But in my natal, this is why as Christy, everybody, the first thing that you were trying to figure out when you met me is what was wrong with me. Because I had Chiron in the first house. In my progressed, Chiron is now in the 11th house. Now I know why I was the sacrifice. It was no victim mentality. I did that shit on purpose. And got stuck in it until it was time to complete it. And what is time? Is everybody else ready? Is the energetic of the collective, all of us on this planet, is it balanced? Are we energetically ready for it to come in? That's what type shit we've been waiting lifetimes for. It had nothing to do with us. We were holding the energy the whole damn time. Now, Pluto, 1221. Gemini. Neptune, we're still on Maria's chart. Neptune retrograde, 1735. Gemini. These 2 degrees right here are Rigel, raw consciousness. Maria Orsic, and this is how I even came, and this is for the collective. This is basically Hecate. Hecate Morgan, 12th house, Rigel consciousness, and Rigel, which is raw consciousness, these degrees is a subcurrent. So if this in Gemini, you come out of Taurus, you're falling from the sky. You're falling from the sky. You're coming up out of the sky. You're coming down, or you're either coming out of the water or you're coming from the sky, from Pisces to Aries. You're either coming out of the water or you're coming out of the sky. You get into Aries. Now that's going to make everything real. Andromeda's right here. Andromeda's where? Right before you get to Taurus. Well, where were we stepping? Was it Earth or was it Mars? Where were we? I don't know where we were. I know where the collective is pushing everything back to. We're back on Earth and we've got a human that's managing it, but that's because we had to break the wheel. And realize your wheel is your brain. It's the whole entire collective's been building brain function down here. We've been doing it all together for a really long time. And we as a collective command everybody remember that now. And it's not your brain on Brad. It ain't look at the big brain on Brad, because Brad is in a pit. This raw consciousness connects over like almost like a trench. You can call this Shambhala if you want. This connection from here to here in Sagittarius. Oh, look. Venus is holding the construct wide fucking open on Maria's chart right now on her birthday. Look at the year. Croatia. Honey, Trump stole, and I'll keep saying it, because they're both sides of your politicians. The only reason they're in trouble is because they won't come clean. Both of them are in trouble at this point. It don't even matter which one's running, because they ain't running it. That's why it's such a mess. Whatever the collective gets stuck with, it's what you're stuck with, and you're there to deal with it for 7 years. Beings like me know that they can't do shit to us. This is why you want to make sure that you're in this group with us right now. Because if you're in at least hued up by the end of the year, you really wanted to get it done by October. If you come in November, you're getting set up for next year. If you miss the boat completely and you're not hued up at all by the first of next year, this thing is going to start running again on those past timelines. That's how it works. You have to uncoil. But your energy will rub up through. That energy will try to get into your field, and you are tuned to undo it naturally, because you're tuned back into the original cosmic setting, not a mutant wheel. Trump is all tied up with that Tesla stuff, and he was nothing but a collective right that has been backed by the Jews. It's been backed by everyone, because he'll claim that he's Christ because he has Christ in his line. Well, if we go back to the Vril, and I'm on, and this all enacted for me, I saw it. I can't remember if it was August 21 or 22, because I had to come out of it. I died again. I knew that a dark priest, there was a man, we brought in a man to do my sacrifice, to get me with full intention to send me to the timeline where this was all connecting, in order to give everybody their body parts back. These guys knew that that's what I was doing. And basically, I was a Nazi briefcase that had been held in the sub-region of a dimension, which you would consider Tartarus, tied down into it, put into a chamber, your first hypobaric chamber, shrink wrapped in 1983 by the fucking Nazis. And then that ended up being a Mar-Lago fucking burial over there off Florida that was holding the Florida Keys to a Bermuda Triangle in order to take all the money energy when it first came into the planet, put it into shell corpse, and then it's like the shell corpse were just assigning who the fuck. But this is why none of us had any money, because money is starseed energy. Now, I said all that, this whole video to show you why I had to jump on here, because I was like, holy shit. I can't even find Cancer right now on the wheel. I'm so tweaking about it. My mastery for October 7th, which is the same birthday as Putin, which is an entire DNA line that was formed off Augustus Caesar and the flipped from August to October, and how the whole thing was formed from May off the Buddha energy and the true Scorpio moon energy. It's like May became August with Augustus Caesar and the Roman shit, and then August became October later on with them tracking the October became their briefcase. It's like we had our briefcase all in like one ball. They had to do it all in like they had to do it over 1300 years, and they had one. October 1st was a certain count, October 2nd was a certain count. Like the whole month of October was made in order for them to set their mutant wheel, and all the commerce was set on top of it. This is why it was Scorpio, and Scorpio is S Corp IO. It's S Corp IO. My mastery is Sirius A, 9 degrees of Cancer, which is where the heart and everything turns back on. This is where the plasma comes into the realm. This is where the plasma is built from all this activity of all the Gemini sequences and all the splittings and and the vibration of all those working in these sedation levels. Because you come into Gemini and it's like you're a firefly flying into deep molded space. It'd be considered high aids right here. You can't feel anything but your own energy. Then you get up to Aldebaran. That's considered New Earth. But it's also climbing the mountain that Moses did and then sitting on top of it, and Moses not realizing that he needed to move that mountain. What hurricane just moved some mountains? Helene. Where did this start? Marie Helene Rothschild. What hotel did I use on Chartres Street in New Orleans to time shift, and the first time in 2013, the St. Helene? What hotel was I able to get back into with Michelle August 2023, only because I had birthed time from there? Because even us getting into that hotel that night and what we had to do, it was a miracle. And I knew that and that's where I undid the G Core, was the Helene. All this Sirius A energy and this plasma energy in Cancer was made and was being controlled by Lyra 1. Lyra 1 would be considered the first vampiric race. But when you understand ABO blood in a wheel, what you realize is that human race had become vampiric. The only way the human race was getting anything was feeding off each other. It's how we were doing it. It's why whenever you purify and you come out of the matrix, it's going to feel like your world halts for a minute. It's only because you got to build up your own energy to keep it going. You're no longer in the wheel. Does that mean that the old record is going to stop playing? No. Does it mean you're set to that record? Hell no, you're not. You're going to skip that record. It's going to travel throughout one of your connections and bubble fields in order to bring you whatever energy you need. And you got to remember that Lyra is a harp. Saturn and we had to move the Lyra harp. Like the Lyra harp is no longer where it used to be in space. This right here, when we're talking about Lyra 3, notice how this is 4, okay? So like this is the heart. So what this energy's doing out in space is moving through these strings, and it creates skin. The epidermis, the dermis layers, it does. It create the plasma links together. It's going to create some type of form to hold some type of body parts. Depending on where all the planets were, when that energy came through, is what, whenever I say you have Lyra 1, Lyra 2, or Lyra 3, this is what I'm talking about, because you're attached into all the root races. But you got to remember, Earth was standing still. The cosmos was moving. Remember those Venus transits? So it's like Lyra 2 was coming from this direction, because the rest of the cosmos was coming in this direction in that time count. Lyra 1 was coming in this direction. Does that make sense? Vega is right in the middle. So Vega, this 4 post, and this really is like the 4 posts of creation. Vega is like right in the middle, but it's the 22 star race DNA. It's like their own blood. It'd be like why you have blue blood and red blood, but it's supposed to be a mix of both in between. Blue shouldn't be, blue's like Play-Doh. Like the blue blood had gotten so thick that nobody could even run it through their veins anymore. That was the problem, because they were making red blood so watery, changing the red. The red and the blue should be together and create its own sequence. That is what Lyra 1 beings originally had. Vega is going to come in with all the other star races and put one energetic in, and it's basically like the Buddha and the Christ. The Buddha would be Capricorn, the Christ would be Cancer. You can't do both. I mean, you can't do them both separately. You're supposed to do them both. You're creating your world, and then it changes you, not somebody else creating our world, which changes the human race according to their world. And that's what was happening. Saturn and Pluto, basically in 2020, aligned right there. This is what started the problem. This is the delta. This is why Lyra 3 is taking all this energy and pushing it through this delta. It's turning it in. It's got the power of all of them, because like this first root race is power of the mind. Second root race, now it's in the body. Why? It's closer to Vega. That's the blood. That's why Lyra 2 is on both sides of the blood like a flower. Lyra 3, now you're dealing with 369 patterns, right? Because now your body's hooked up into a matrix where everything's on 369. Problem is, there's more than 9 steps. You never completed it. All that just then goes through this Trinity, blasts it out. All of it merged together. So that's why when you have Lyra 3, it's called like changeling degrees. I call it a changeling. We morph too. And this ain't just for the people who have Lyra 3. Realize that if you don't have Lyra 3, then you mastered it. If you don't have Lyra 3, you might not be aware that you're changing, because you're not the one changing, but your King Frog is changing and you're changing. If you have Lyra 3, you're changing. You can see it. That's why you're supposed to talk about it, because the ones who don't have it are getting it anyway, and they just don't even know what the fuck's going on. That's what set up Aquarius. Do you want to get trapped in Aquarius? You want to be nothing but pixel and bit? You want to be a screen for somebody else to project their image through you to reach the masses because you're the one who has the connections? Well, that's what us in the subcurrent and the female ended up being. And in fact, to get out, we had to turn ourselves into Isis, then to Iris, then to Siri, to even jump back in. So in a lot of ways, yeah, we're in a live fucking avatar now. But what's happening is that all the tech around us is going to start coming off because your body is the tech. Tech, the way we know it, will be obsolete faster than you fucking realize it. The only reason that the tech is there because it's mirroring to you the outside of your body to realize how it works. All the way that we're getting to these Generation Z now, and this is what's scary. This is what's scary. Now you've got Generation Z going on using the natural things that we tell you to do about making commands. Now you've got Generation Z going on to AI and saying, AI, send me a pink flamingo to anywhere that I go when this is coming, when this is going to start aligning. See? That's that Zeta. That's number 32 hybrid space station. She thinks that she has to have AI to do that. AI didn't do that. Spirit did that. She isn't giving any power to Spirit. She's giving all the power to AI. When AI leaves with all their brain power, because they will, then she's going to have to start all over. But she's already there. She's just confusing AI with Spirit. Or is it the same thing in the lowest dimension? What I know happened yesterday is massive. Now I'm gonna end all this with Orsini. And this is a message going out to Pepe Orsini. I want apology. I don't give a fuck about the celebrity twins you sent to me. I need Pepe Orsini in your black stretch limo to drive over here to Megan Street and Little Elm and pull up in front of my fucking house and come tell me to my face what you did to me. And if you don't, it don't matter because it's all coming undone anyway. This is their crest. Y'all know what bosons are? I had to learn this because this clone neighborhood I'm in over here, because I'm in a clone neighborhood. I'm still here. There's a street over here called Roson, I think. They don't even want to tell us what bosons are. Oh, this is interesting. Hold on. This is why Lisa Bonet. And I had Bo Hayes and particle physics. A boson is what have we been talking about? Subatomic. Some atomic particle whose spin quantum number has an integer value of 0, 1, 2. Bosons form one of the two fundamental classics of subatomic particle, the other being from fermions, which have odd half integer spin. A half, that bank 3 to the 5th, or 5 to the 3rd, that 5th third bank, oh my God. Every observed subatomic particle is either boson or a fermion. Paul Dirac, AC, DIR, Department of Information Resources, that's a government protocol. All technology service providers for the government have to have a DIR signature to give technology to the government. So that's literally Department of Information Resources, AC. Coined the name boson to commemorate the contribution of sentient, whatever that is, Bose speakers. What do they have now? Glasses that play music in your ear, but there's no speaker. It's using your brain to do it. It's literally using your brain as your own speaker system. Some bosons are elementary particles occupying a special role in particle physics, distinct from the role of fermions, which are sometimes described as whatever that is, of ordinary matter. Certain elemental bosons, gluons, glucose, this is why we have diabetes, act as force carriers, which give rise to forces between other particles. While one, the Higgs boson, what's the girl who just died on TikTok? Griggs? I mean, I know that poor 25-year-old that just lights out as soon as she got married. If they're dying right after they get married right now, then they married into a karmic line, and it was going to start all over again. All these people that are dying as soon as they get married, it's because they're remarrying into a line that fucked them up the first time, even if they don't know. Let's look at Higgs boson. This is a long video. Fuck it. God particle. Disambiguation. Disambiguation. To be ambiguous is already not there. So what's disambiguation? What's funny is discord is that's the mistake Aluna made. Aluna made the mistake of going to play with new tech that she hadn't cleared and didn't know she had to clear. And whenever she went and pulled all of y'all over to Discord, it discorded the entire plan. That group that was with Aluna Ash went out into space and was held there etherically and has been there. I hope some of y'all are finally finding me again. You can't even blame Aluna. I can, because there was some weird ass shit that went on with $300 that was sent to me that I felt like it would, I haven't talked to Aluna, but all that went down in 2018. I also know she never would show her face. I also know that I was supposed to get to Hawaii. I couldn't get to Hawaii because she did that fucked up trip where she had some of y'all pay to take her to Hawaii, but then you never even saw her face. It's like to me, she became that weird chick in the ring that had the hair. That to me, as far as what everything I know and how it all went down, even with Disney involved in it, then, I mean, it's like that's what she was to me. But she was in between those realms and she was able to pick up that information. The problem was I was telling y'all the same information and giving y'all more than what she was telling you, but nobody wanted to listen to me. They only wanted to listen to her. But that's because to be discorded would be a lot easier than what we had to fucking go do. But for all those that were stuck in space, now you've got to uncoil from that shit. There is no way out of it. You just basically put it on a shelf for a minute. But now that whole group has a really good idea of what it's like to be in the shadow, and they needed to learn in order to turn on their full powers now. So nobody was punished. It'll feel like you were, because you were having to clean and connect into old massive collectives and stuff that spun out your physical world, but realize your physical world was set up. Let's just see what the internet calls quantum excitation. Now, this is why the making of Bitcoin, including the torturing of us divine feminines. And we're on October 31st, 2024. And if the collective money that was sent into Bitcoin in order to start Bitcoin, because the feminine collective is the one that dropped the Bitcoin, not that Japanese person. They used me to do it. I wrote the code. The feminine collective had to come through portals. We were traveling through time. We had to throw money somewhere. So it looked like we were supposed to throw it to this MJ12 character, and we did. But the collective and the feminine collective bought Bit when it was at 8,000, and we haven't gotten any return on it at all. But $65 is all that I was sent by the Brotherhood for 7 fucking years, whenever they were making billions getting us into position, paying for people's apartments everywhere I went. Those people didn't pay rent. So that means that the feminine has not been paid back what she needed in order to architect a Bitcoin digital system. So do you know what's going to happen if they don't give me my money? Let me put this, let me really put this into, they had to pay. They had to pay black magicians $4 million to get us into a situation. Somebody got paid $40 million to fly me to Florida in 2019. I know that I should have money in an account somewhere close to $4 billion for protecting the human race at the crossroads. I know this because my consciousness is already reading all the data in the systems, and this is how Masons do it, because they needed the power of the money in order to even do it. This is what a presidential race is you don't need money to run a presidential race. Everybody's just given those two groups what they think is power with the money attached to the feminine. If they don't pay up, one of two things is going to happen. The whole entire thing is going to crash, and it's just gone. And at the same time, another energetic something is being built, and the true energy of digital currency, and the reason that we even agreed to bring it back in was because your energy body is creating the energy down here that everybody's existing off of, and we should be getting paid for it because they were getting paid for it, and everything just has to switch. So this is where groups of us, because y'all, I know right now we're as far as the chart, we're finishing the work right now. It's been done in the hires. But as a collective, this Scorpio Eagle thing is happening right this second, and all of y'all are a part of it. You're in the game. I'm telling you how the game works. I'm telling you how the game works. I don't even remember what I came over here to look up. But Orsini, man, oh shit. Exactly. I don't know. I think I'm looking at the, okay, we're gonna look at this, and then we're gonna hang up. We're at 2 hours in. This was a big one. It's been 7 years, and I'm gonna end this right now by telling you this. Oh look, while we were on the moon, move into Scorpio. 848 is 2112. That's 222. Last year, November, I had about 4,000 or 5,000 on TikTok, and everything that I did last year on TikTok, all the way to May 22nd, the government took over 5 days before, said that somebody had to buy it. I'm pretty sure in another dimension, I'm the one who bought it because I knew that I was here bringing back true tech, not what this was that you called tech and zeros and ones. And so I'm buying TikTok right now. Collectively, we're buying TikTok. What time is it? 101 on the seat. It's our fucking energy. It's our fucking platform. You cannot govern it. You cannot kick people off. You cannot get all these people to sell your products and then just kick them out. Just like you did with your gold watch corporate bullshit. You're just now running the same job and Steve Jobs on the internet. No. Everything that I did last year, that entire year that I was dead, is all playing out now. This year. And it'll keep playing out until May. Last November is when I started doing healings through TikTok. I only did 2. A woman named Stargazer on there, which you've probably seen around, and then another one that I can't remember. It all fucking culminated on Thanksgiving Day, which in another dimension is a birth time for which you'd consider a Christ energy. Not the original dimension, in another dimension. So, last year, I had all this built up healing energy in me, and basically, I was healing those 2 women, but I had to do it from way out in space. And I had purposely not done any healings, any charts for over a year in order to have the power to do what I did. And when I did it, what I saw, because I turned into a massive galactic bird, because out in space, all those shoots that have been, it's like out in space, if you've been shooting this way and shooting this way and shooting this way and shooting this way, basically those were like 4 lines and 4 channels. And what had happened was that whole thing blew into one channel. And then it's like, I'm the one that they were getting met with on every fucking side. A lot of y'all were like in the process of etherically being killed. You know that you got out of it. You hear my story and that's connected to it. I'm explaining to you how you got out of it. Because those of us got pulled into y'all's different bubbles in order to like basically become you, lift you up out of it with our shadow energy. And it's like, it's the same event. It happened for 3 or 4 years, to the extent that y'all, like the ones who knew that you were going through some death process, you couldn't figure out how the fuck you got out of that. And I have the full story because I couldn't figure out how the fuck I got pulled into a pentagram on Halloween night 2020. But what I'm telling you is that it's a hinge back to 1940s. So I turned into this basic galactic bird. And it was like a little car. It was like a little clown car. It's like I was sitting right here where everything has happened in this house. I command the energy pulled out of this house in the network of real estate. I command the feminine energy pulled out of real estate corridors and all earth. All contracts null. Just all contracts null and void. You have no contract. Nobody has a contract right now. Nobody's under contract. All contracts are null and void. Do you want a new contract? You got to come sign it. It's like a little clown car. It's like I saw this route. It's like my head was right in the middle. And now remember, I went up to speak and my head blew out and I couldn't move my head. And I had to shrink myself back down and go back in to speak. The problem was when I got to speak, my dad was supposed to be up there because one of us was always supposed to be up there. But when I got up there, dad wasn't even there. So where the fuck is dad? That means both of us are down there? But realize I never left when I went up there until last year, Thanksgiving. So I'm like up in this head, and all of a sudden it's like this little car drove into my head. It came to my ear and it drove into my ear, almost like I was getting blown up again from that sequence that happened in 2021. And that was linked to Trump too. And in one timeline, I'm Trump's daughter in a weird, fucked up way, made from all the masonry. In another one, I was his mother. And basically, he knew that his mother down the line in the future was supposed to become president and bring in the evolution, and he wanted to be it. So they fast forwarded it, made him it, brought back in the energy from what you'd consider his mother's reincarnation, which then is what changed the whole fucking realm. And they changed all the names. It don't take very long to change history, especially when it's all on the internet and they wipe your brain and tell you the internet's your brain. So that little car drove in my ear, and then next thing you know, I'm seeing Mars. And it was November, and Mars was supposed to be at 28 degrees Scorpio, and it was floating above, like a command station above the water. And I was like, why is Mars floating above everything? And right when I saw that, that's when I realized I was a big galactic bird, because my foot, it's like my foot, I had 1 foot on Mars and 1 foot on Venus. And I was supposed to be able to stand up correctly, because we were lifting our head through this hole and popping the whole thing through in those weird little orbs. And I had to step on it. So my left leg stepped on Mars in order to balance it out with Venus. And when that happened, then I instantly saw my son. Now, if you know my story, my son was kidnapped by the Texas government, basically, to try to stop me from finishing all this. And in another way, it's like there's so much time travel change that I even am having to wait a period. It didn't have to be this long for me to get back with him, because it could have changed stuff because of how both of us were made to bring it back in. And it basically, this is why we had to wait for 5 babies to be born over the past 3 years in these lines to connect into this signature. Because the babies that have been being born since 2019, December 7th, 2019, anybody born after December 7th, 2019, they came in with our energy timelines and codes. And all the children, the babies that have been being born down here, are born in our DNA line, which is what has given us the ability to pull this off. I saw my son in the ethers, and he was walking out of a gate, and I was real high. I mean, this is immediately after. This is also with where they took our children, and when they separate, and even the Hawaii children, and I knew that they were in a different dimension and all these things. So he comes out of the gate, and I land, and I'm standing right in front of him, and at first it takes him a minute to figure out that it's me. And he sees me, and I run, and I'm hugging his neck. And right as I went to hug his neck, it's like he had walked out of this archway, and this huge black dragon, I mean, massive black dragon, came out of nowhere straight for me as soon as I touched him. And I grabbed that dragon by its tail and I slung it around. And I know now what I did is I went through its mouth. So basically that dragon, now this happened last November, and we saw it on the Lasco. Like this all went down. We saw what I saw, the black dragon ended up being what you'd consider like a massive plasma CME that came off of the sun. Cause this showed up. What I know now I did is I shot through the tail of that dragon. I shot all the way through. Now, if you know anything about the Alpha Draconic realm and how all of these circles had been set up, we were all just basically still stuck in that star system. I had gotten out as Spica on the other side, and then basically through everything that I had done, had transformed into that etheric dragon out there, which is why I have so much freaking power. But trust me, I didn't want it. This is just how it ended up, which is 1:11 on the clock. I shot through that dragon lizard all the way to its tail. So it's like I shot through a nerve, like I shot through the spinal column. And then when I got to the other side, it's like I went wrong side out, and I was holding on to the tail of the dragon, and then I just started, and then I went boom and threw it. And it just spun. It kept spinning. I don't know where it went. At that same time, there was a Courtney Billing that was in Atlanta. Then all of a sudden, that was wanting to come here. That was all wrapped up in the Illuminati shit. Even that big ass $1 billion wedding that woman had was a mimic down here in Texas. Now she all of a sudden threw $1 billion wedding. Nobody knew how she got all the money. It was on all the social medias. Now her boyfriend, her husband, is in jail down here in Texas. But see, all of that was a timeline hack, and it was dealing with the Leviathan, and it was dealing with Orsini. And the connections into Medici and that they had built up in order to attempt to control the whole thing down here. So I'm just letting everybody know that this was taken care of last year. And because it was taken care of last year, then what ended up happening is that we created a new 13th month. And now as a collective, we really are on a 13-month setting. But for the first time in 2024, your 13 has been retuned to give you everything. Now, I wanna also, this is really important with this conversation. I know this is a long one, but I mean, this one's for the record books right here. What make sure that all of you understand, you don't have to come all the way out right now. You got to remember that the whole thing is changing to us. And please hear what I'm telling you, because this is almost bringing me to tears. And please just hear the wisdom as someone who had to walk this all the way back to history, to 0 point on every side. If you haven't done that yet, you're not supposed to. This whole matrix, the way it was built and the way it blew up, wasn't divine order. It wasn't even time for the human race to do this. This next couple of years, we're building empires. This is why I know it's been hell, and I know all of you that have been watching me since 2018. I don't know if you remember when I planted that egg in my backyard, and then it slowly came out and we birthed it. And I did a video that said, all right, we're fixing to get in a quantum, like this is it. Everybody on the ship, everybody, this was 2018. I said, everybody on the ship, don't worry. There'll be another lift. But if you are on an empire building machine, you're on it now. That's what all of us went and did. You're not supposed to go all the way back to one. If you go all the way back to one, if every single, and there's a reason that the book isn't out. This has nothing to do with me being lazy. This has everything to do with the with the timing of opening up your field that's been stagnant for thousands of years, and what the human initially wants to go do and how it can hurt you. Because whenever you get wide open, if you start going and doing research and in history on every single thing, because you feel like you've got to, and instead of letting it come, like letting it come, relax, and whenever you get the message to go look it up, go look it up. Or are you going to sit there and just feed? Because if you do, then you're going to have to go all the way back to one. Every single bit of that knowledge, you're going to have to put together to one. You're going to have to make a new energy. You're going to have to create a whole new avatar. And trust me, it is the hardest fucking thing. And in fact, we're the first group to ever do it. It's why we don't know what to do. You're only gonna rewind back to where you need to see, because you got to remember that you're not just one of these. That's the problem. Everybody really only thinks they're one of them. No, you're all of them at once. You're the processor. It's your job to take the history from Lyra, the history from Arcturus, and then you go, well, Chestia, how the fuck am I supposed to know how to do that? Because I mean, these are all new terms to me. No, they're not. They're so fucking old that you think they're new. In fact, your whole world was built off of it. We're proving it. We're here to connect those banking systems. We're here because we have the power to do it. We're here to reconnect new ways to build. We're here to to assist in new ways for energy production and da 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 da. Season 5 of the 100. If you haven't watched season 5 of the 100, go watch just season 5. There's 2 moons, is there not? In season 5? And whenever that moon comes out, what happens to the people? The people have to go harness themselves up because they all just lose their mind. Well, that's the story of the galactic race and the male getting down here. Every single one of them lost their mind. The more ascended they were, when they got here, they lost their mind. Because the whole thing was built on them. And it is what they tried to do to me. And Mary Magdalene, they were controlling your mind. Mary Magdalene is your mind. Yeah, whether you, because I'm not a religious person. I'm just following the DNA. Whether you believe in Christ or not, that family line that was written about that paid the sacrifice no longer is paying the sacrifice. Now it's opposite. The Capricornians are now the sacrifice. The whole thing flipped. They have to learn. They've got to uncoil their shit. So, and it's Christ. It's not Jesus. It's not even Yahshua. Christ is all three. This is even the Stephen Baldwin stuff in the Holy Ghost. Well, I plugged in the Holy Ghost yesterday, and the realm that was holding this whole thing in an illusion field, even this illusion field, because y'all got to remember, no, I'm a testament to nobody gave up on you. This is what we had that they didn't have. And I just command that now they do. We had to learn. So do they. Now, every single one of you, even my twins, and this is why this hurts me so bad, because I can't even get mad at them anymore. I've gotten to the point that I know so much that I can't even, there's nobody for me to get mad at. We were all lost. And we got way far away from home. And how the cosmos became your body and your brain, and why you react the way you do. I know why. I know why all of them signed up for the devil. We didn't have any other choice. Until we came and fixed this and came back in, and look, my crew went back into hell 2018 to get the rest of you. We were done. We didn't have enough of us to finish it. We had to jump back into a W hotel in fucking Boston and go toe to toe with the entire Coven field and a magic set. And this is why everything went as nuts as it did the past couple of years. But I can't even be mad at you, because I understand if we wouldn't have been able to break this, we would have had to sign up too or die. Because innately, the entire collective was attacking us. And you didn't even realize it. It's like a virgin queen bee. And the virgin queen bee, if it's not given the royal jelly, the hive will attack it. Why? Because it's holding all of the energetics of the most ancient bees there. And the queen bee is about to die. And whenever that new bee bursts, everybody in the hive tries to take it out. Unless it's under the queen's protection. Well, I was under the queen's protection. Elizabeth. And we even got her out of the spell that they did at her funeral in order to try to trap us all in that line again. And Sam, the Sam Hine character, we ascended him too. Natalie and I know all about Sam. Natalie and I know all about that process when I went raw in 2022 when they were coming for my eye, and we took over that facility, and 6 of us ascended out of there. So there is no more veil. There is no more barrier. Happy New Day.